Finally, on our docket, London Breed calls for better policing in San Francisco after this insane surge in crime. Here's the video.
And it's time that the reign of criminals who are destroying our city, it is time for it to come to an end. And it comes to an end when we take the steps to be more aggressive with law enforcement, more aggressive with the changes in our policies, and less tolerant of all the bullshit that has destroyed our city. We are going to turn this around. This is a city that has a population of less than 1 million people with an over $12 billion budget. The residents of this city have been extremely generous in providing us with the resources we need to make a difference. And now the priorities we need to make must be to protect them, must be to turn things around in their neighborhoods. When you are in a room full of people, I would say probably anywhere between 90 and 95% of folks could raise their hand and say that either their car has been broken into, or they've been a victim in some capacity or another. That is not okay. That is not acceptable.
Sachs, I thought crime was down and that everything was great and that we were going to defund the police. What is happening here? What's the big turnaround?
Well, it's exactly what I was saying. That, well, first of all, I loved it. I love what she said. It's exactly what I've been saying for the last year. And it's really great to hear her say the same types of things. I started this campaign back in January after New Year's Eve. You had those two women get killed by a repeat offender who was released by Chesa Boudin. And then as I dug into it, I saw that he was doing this all the time as part of his agenda of decarceration. So, and a year later, like we've talked about throughout this whole time, I mean, the city is totally degenerated into some sort of dystopian Gotham-like city. This did feel like the beginning of a Batman movie. I mean, it was a strong statement. I thought it was great. This is just the beginning of what needs to be done. I predict that London Breed is going to eventually butt heads with Chesa Boudin. There is no way that he will support this agenda of fixing the city. She wants to increase the police presence. So like you said, she is going to refund the police, not defund the police. Chesa Boudin is, I mean, the only people he's passionate about prosecuting are police officers.
Yeah.
So we have a huge problem that the police department is actually, we have too few of them. We're understaffed.
Who would take that job?
It's not just because of budget. It's also because they're demoralized and they've got this prosecutor. By the way, there was a case just recently where a repeat offender bashed a vodka bottle over the head of a cop, and Chesa just announced that he's getting sent to mental health diversion instead of being prosecuted. I want to
What? You can attack a cop and not go to jail in the city of San Francisco?
Yes. This is why the cops are demoralized. So in order for London Breed to fix the problem, she is going, and I think she's on the right track here. He's got to go. So here's my prediction. On February 15th, they are having the recall election for the education board. And I predict that board, at least 2 of the 3 are going to be recalled. The parents are sick and tired of it. Yeah. They are going to be out. I think that's going to embolden London Breed to then support the recall of Chesa Boudin in the June election. And I think between
she gets to pick his replacement when it
yes, exactly. So
that's what she's doing. She basically flipped. She was quiet up until this point. And
the progressive left are slowly eating themselves.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is self-preservation, right, Chamath? I mean, if she didn't make a change here, she's going to be out of office too. She'll get recalled.
It's not self-preservation. They're realizing that these policies don't work. Moral absolutism didn't work on the left or the right. These guys have tried in a small scale to do what a certain fraction of the Democratic Party has been trying to do at a national level. It doesn't work. Overspending, under-policing, under-educating, it doesn't do anything.
I think there's going to be a schism. I think it started after the Youngkin victory in Virginia, and I think it's going to accelerate throughout for the next year, and especially after the red wave in November 2022. There's going to be a schism between liberal pragmatists and these extreme radical progressives. I think London Breed represents, she's obviously very liberal, but I think she's pragmatic. I think she wants to find solutions that work. Whereas Chesa Boudin is a radical ideologue who will never change, no matter how much evidence is presented to him that his policies don't work and are backfiring.
I think there's a simple formula. The person who gets you into the mess is likely not the right person to get you out of the mess. And
well said.
She talks about San Francisco having a $12 billion a year budget. Can you guys imagine if she was the CEO of a tech company that had $12 billion a year in OpEx and she ran the business into the ground? Would the board say, go ahead, turn it around? Absolutely not. The board would step in, and in this case, the board is the citizens of San Francisco, and they would say, let's find the right person to turn this thing around. And while she stood up and said the right things, and maybe it would echo, and I think, even if it echoes within David Sachs's heart, I'm sure it's echoing in a lot of hearts of more liberal San Franciscans. But I think that the apathy, being asleep at the wheel, and allowing the disorganization across the departments within that city is ultimately her responsibility. And I don't think that any amount of, verbiage or action she might take at this point justifies the damage she has caused while being the leader of that city. And I think that and by the way, I think you'll see, to Sachs's point earlier, I think you'll see the same response across the nation, where folks feel like the leaders that got them into the mess that they're in locally, in cities and elsewhere around this country, are going to vote those folks out of office because they want to change. And it's the same reason we saw folks vote Trump into office, and the same reason we saw folks vote Trump out of office. The more you want to see a change, the more you're going to make a change with your political electorate.
So right. Friedberg is so right. There is a phenomenal Twitter account. His name is Rob Henderson. And he's like a PhD student right now. I think he's in Europe on scholarship. He's this guy has an incredible background, which you can talk about later. But Rob Henderson has this thing which I love, which is that, a lot of this stuff is born out of what he calls luxury beliefs, right? Like defunding the police is a luxury belief. If you're like this rich middle class cloistered person that can sit behind a gate, have armed security, yada yada yada, because you're not living in the ghetto where the byproduct of defunding the police are borne out, or decarceration are borne out. Or, if you send your kid to a private school, you can completely be for all these crazy radical ideas like defunding, advanced placement, defunding the gifted program, because if your kid's smart, you'll just pay for a tutor and you can do whatever you want. Those luxury beliefs exist more in the progressive left in such a small cohort of people than in any other political class that we have in America. And when they get a hold of power, they've now had the right to show whether those luxury beliefs can actually work. The data says it doesn't. Okay?
Let's go with competence. I mean, how about that? Like, just keep people safe and make the education system.
These luxury beliefs belong in sociology textbooks, in anthropological articles. They're better off in like where beatniks smoke pot and talk about it over a glass of wine.
Let me clean up something. So look, I have no special desire to defend London Breed. I'm sure there are many.
I knew that hit a nerve.
No, look, I'm sure there are many better
Sachs,
people.
Are you wearing a London Breed brand sweater? Is that?
Yeah.
Is
that London Breed?
Tom Ford.
Tom Ford. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Tom Ford.
Look, I'm sure there are better mayors, but I think we have to sort of temper what you said based on the realities of politics in San Francisco, which are this. We actually have a weak mayor. The mayor can't do anything without a vote, without the vote of the Board of Supervisors. Right. And the soups are controlled right now by a bunch of crazies
Wackos,
who are basically allies. Dean Preston and Matt Haney and Hillary Rodin, who are allies of Chesa Boudin. Okay. So London Breed, I think, wants to do some good things. I think that she is more pragmatic than these ideologues. I think that she could have been more aggressive and more outspoken about standing up to them. However, earlier. Okay. But I think she is now doing the right thing in terms of the speech she just gave, basically calling for refunding the police, and we're sick of the bullshit and we're going to take action. Those are the right things to be saying right now. She did the right thing in terms of supporting the recall of this school board. And what I'm saying is, let's give her a chance to see if she does come out
100%.
in favor
100%.
of the recall of Chesa Boudin, because I think that's where it's headed. And if she gets on board with that, and she shows she's pragmatic, she may actually survive this red wave that's coming.
Fundraiser if she gets out?
It's happening all around the country, right? We saw Bill de Blasio, who was the first real progressive leftist elected to a major city. He completely ran New York City into the ground. Now Eric Adams is going to go clean it up, right? We had Glenn Youngkin, who basically ran a centrist campaign, take over Virginia. It's over.
It's over, Johnny.
Let's call it. It's over.
Game
Centrism, over. Pragmatism. Enough of these extreme polar opposites. Okay.
Right.
Let Antifa and the Proud Boys go and make love to each other in some deserted island. It's over. It's done. Let's stop talking about it.
That was the funniest thing I heard. Somebody said to me, like Proud Boys and what's the other group? Oath Keepers or something. This woman who's gay said, she's like, oh, it was Rachel Maddow. She's like, I think these are like gay activist groups, aren't they? Like Proud Boys? It sounds like a gay activist group.
I think we're seeing the correction of the overreaction the pandemic caused, what Neil Ferguson calls pandemic politics, that the pandemic bred a strain of radical politics that we saw all over the country. And I think
on both sides.
And I think the country is going to come out of that.
Did you see these idiots go to Cheesecake Factory and do a sit-in without their masks on? And that's their form of protest, is like, we're going to go into the Cheesecake Factory.
Who are you talking about?
There was a Cheesecake Factory protest. And now it's going national with people who are anti-mask, anti-vax. They don't want to have to show their cards or wear a mask when they walk to their seat. So they're literally doing sit-ins at Cheesecake Factory. And I was like, I would protest going to a Cheesecake Factory. I'm not going to protest in a Cheesecake Factory.
Well, some people aren't on a diet like you, Jake, and they enjoy cheesecake.
Well, where are you at? What's the number? Sachs, just give us the number. What's your weight today?
Around 170.
I'm 174. So I'm coming right up behind you. You hear the steps? You hear the steps?
Saxy, I'm going to tell you, bro, I love your sweater. I'm going to drive to the city, come to the mausoleum and make love to you with that sweater on.
Oh my God. All right, everybody. We'll